Hey, it's Make It Make Sense, Mary. Welcome back to Mixed Messages. This is episode 2. To everybody that checked out episode 1, thank you guys so much. I appreciate the support. To my returning viewers, you guys are perfect. And to all of my new viewers, welcome. We're excited to have you. So Mixed Messages is a show where we will laugh, we may cry, we'll talk about deep things, and we're always going to put you to a little feel-good work at the end. So we have our first guest, Skizza, joining us tonight, and he is going to kick off our new intro. So Skizza, you have 60 seconds to make it make sense. Tell us who you are. Where are you from? Go.
Hey, my name is Skizza. I'm a rapper, slam poet, do a lot of different things. I'm from Saskatoon, Canada, which is kind of the middle of nowhere as far as a lot of people are concerned. It gets really cold up here, and really that's about the elevator pitch. I make rap music, mostly inspired by kind of the '90s style of rap, and inspired by my own life and my own perspective on the world.
Nice. Well, welcome. We're excited to have you. So I feel like you did a great job condensing that into 60 seconds, but I know that you are a way deeper dude than that. But tell us a little bit more about Canada. So you said it's cold a lot?
Yeah, well, like where I live, particularly in the prairies, is very, very cold in the wintertime, like minus 30 Celsius, which is, I don't even know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's like
Cold.
it's like a thing that like kind of throws people for, like, when I was growing up, if I'd watch the news before I'd have to go to school, there would be a part on the weather where they would tell you like how long it would take exposed skin to freeze. They'd be like, exposed skin will freeze in 90 seconds today, or like, so you had to figure that out sometimes when you were figuring out how to get dressed for school. It was a little bit
That
wild.
is crazy. That is super interesting, actually. I'm like, well, it's the exact opposite here. So, as you guys know, I'm in San Antonio, and it is hot. It's been kind of like mild. Like, I don't want to jinx it, but it's been pretty not as hot as it normally would be. But I know last summer they were doing all these heat advisories and just stay inside, drink water. It's 115 degrees and it's only 11 o'clock in the morning. It's only going to get hotter, like craziness. But yeah, so tell us a little bit. Let me actually tell you a little bit about the last show. So I don't know if you got a chance to check it out. If not, that's cool, because I'm going to tell you anyway. So last show was the first episode, and the series itself is called Mixed Messages. And I kind of just did a little intro to kind of break down the meaning behind that, right? So last week's show was about sending yourself mixed messages. So when you hear mixed messages, you think about like maybe some relationshipy stuff, or maybe even a job. I mean, it kind of can apply to a lot. But have you personally ever thought about the fact that we as people send ourselves mixed messages?
Oh, all the time. Yeah. I think, and maybe this is everybody, maybe it's just like a thing for artistic people, but I think we have a tendency to be our own worst critics sometimes. The things we'll say about ourselves, or like, that's the thing I've been working on just in my life, is being more graceful to myself. Because I think about some of the things I would say to myself, like if I heard someone say that about someone else, or like one of my friends or something, I would be like, no, like like I would never allow someone to say that about someone else, but I'm okay with saying that about myself. Like, um, yeah, I think we all probably give ourselves lots of mixed messages.
Yeah, agreed. And it's funny because you said exactly what I said. I said the things that we say to ourselves inside, like if somebody walked up to us and said that, even a friend or anybody, we would be like, oh my God. But like we allow ourselves to do that. And good point as well, like as creators too, you can really get in your head and send mixed messages. So on that note, tell us a little bit, like the floor is yours. I caught you off guard with the 60 seconds, break it down, but now the floor is yours. So just kind of tell us about just kind of break down what you do a little bit. So you said rapper inspired by like 90s music. And so tell us a little bit about your latest work.
Yeah, I guess I released an album just over a year ago. It was just the 1 year anniversary the other day, called Bridge City Underdog. Saskatoon's the Bridge City. There's a bunch of bridges here. That's my hometown. It's a 16-track album, and it's kind of, there's a lot of different topics on it, but I've just always been inspired by the idea of being an underdog. Of all my favorite athletes are like I always liked Reggie Miller more than I liked Michael Jordan in the 90s. Like now,
Right.
like Kyle Lowry's my dude more than like LeBron or like Steph Curry or any of those. I always like the people who are kind of under the radar. They're a little bit different. But they're working on something, and so a lot of those topics come up throughout the album. Being always kind of feeling a little bit overlooked, not really fitting in with the people around me, feeling like I had to try really hard just to kind of get as far as anyone else. So that's like the premise of the whole album, but there are a lot of different topics on it. I talk about relationships on it, in both funny ways and more serious ways. I talk about just being an artist, like what my creative process is like. I talk about politics. It's kind of like, it's a pretty wide ranging album in terms of the subject matter included. And then the sound wise, it's very, very 90s. It's, like jazz and soul samples and like drum loops and not a lot of like auto tune. Like it's not that style of music.
Right. Right.
It's more throwback. Like I'm very highly inspired by Outkast. That's my favorite group ever. I love Fugees, Wu-Tang Clan, like kind of that. Those are my main inspirations. I take maybe some of the style and techniques that they use, but then I just kind of apply my own life and my own experiences to the actual writing. So I'm not going to be rapping about the same things as some of those artists, but I'm going to be maybe rapping about my life in Canada in a similar way to some of those artists.
Yeah, and I mean, based on the artists that you just mentioned and the way that you described your album, I mean, I personally am one of those people when I talk about music that I always, even the auto tune, but I always say, gosh, like nobody's talking about anything for real anymore. Like a lot of, and some people are, but nobody's like breaking anything down and like giving you like a lesson and like something to think about and like life. You know what I mean? So that sounds like it's what you're doing. And I'll blow your mind real quick. So I had the opportunity about a year and a half ago to go to Stankonia Studio.
Ooh.
And yes, so that was really, really cool. So if you have the opportunity, check it out, Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah. If I'm ever in Atlanta, that'll definitely be on my list.
You will lose your mind. Like since you did, I mean, you'll lose your mind. But yeah, so let's talk about, because the point of my show too, and I still want to hear more from you about the other things that you do, but just on this particular you kind of brought it up. So you said that you talk about, it being hard to fit in or kind of, being overlooked. That caught my ear when you said that. And, on the show, I want anybody who watches it to relate to me and whoever I have, that we're real people, and it's, so cliche, but you can't judge a book by its cover. Like you just can't, people go through different things. People, things affect people differently and so on and so forth. And, I also want to give people some tools that we've picked up along life that actually work, that might work for somebody else. So I can really relate to you on that. I mean, you were kind of like, I'm like, did he write these songs for me? Like, because I really can feel that. So tell us a little bit about like how you overcome that. Like you also mentioned you kind of like, I guess we'll say unique people, right? And I'm like that too. Like I consider myself to be a total weirdo. And like, if you are like looking crazy across the room and everybody's like, oh my God, I'm like, I want to talk to you, So how do you, how did you get past that? What are some kind of tools that you use? And
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big question.
It is.
Yeah. Oh, I've just kind of always been a bit of an oddball, I guess, a little bit different from the other kids my age when I was a kid, and then even up to being an adult. And writing music definitely became an outlet for that, where I could express myself in ways that I maybe couldn't in person. I'm also like very shy. I'm very introverted. So in maybe a one-on-one situation or like at a party or something like that, I have a tendency to kind of shrink into the background, to just kind of let what was going on around me just kind of happen, and observe and like see what I can learn from it. But I
Mhm.
wouldn't really interject or try and like add my own 2 cents, or try and sort of mold what was going on in my own way. So being able to write music where I can kind of sit down and think and be alone and like express my thoughts in unique ways, kind of like unlocked a lot of things for me, where it's like, okay, even if I can't relate to people in the way that most people do, that doesn't mean that I don't have things that are worth saying, or that I don't have, my own thoughts and my own opinions. They just maybe have to come out in a different way than they do for other people. And so it was like a practice where I could develop a craft of like here's a way I can say this, here's a way I can tell this story, or here's a way I can share this opinion.
Yeah.
Um, and then also just like the craft of taking the time to be like, okay, if I want to write something, like if I want to express myself, I have to know what I want to express first. And so then that becomes like a self-reflective thing, like where you actually start to learn who you are by figuring out what you really want to say,
Right.
which is probably something that, at least for me, I wouldn't have been able to do in a social situation. um, but when I dedicate myself like to taking the time to write lyrics, I have to do that. I have to look inward. I have to find material somewhere, and it has to come from inside. So I think like anyone else who maybe feels like they can't express themselves in like just a normal social way, like should definitely seek out some kind of creative outlet, because they're gonna figure things out by doing that they maybe didn't even realize were inside them. And whether that's writing lyrics or poems, or painting, or playing an instrument, anything expressive like that. um
Mhm.
the expressive part, like that's only one part of it, because there's sort of the research part first, like you have to, process of digging up what you want to express first is almost even the real meat of it. The expression is the outcome of it, but the hard work is like figuring out what you want to say to begin with. So yeah, I think
So,
everyone should have a creative hobby of some type.
yeah. So let me ask you this. Um, Being that person at the party that just kind of stays and, kind of being more introverted and, being that person, how do you then take that paper and get it out of your mouth to express to the world? That's like super vulnerable, like vulnerability at its finest. How do you do that?
Definitely. I think it's weird. I heard Johnny Carson say something about this, of all people, which is, I've learned from that, is he always said he went into comedy because he was shy, but because, like, if you're performing, there's a bit of a separation. You're in control of the environment as a performer in a way that you're not as just one person within a group.
Yeah.
So it's not quite the same thing as having a conversation. I get to dictate my own terms of how I'm expressing myself when I'm on stage. And I think learning that kind of also unlocked that avenue for me, where I was like, this doesn't have to be scary, because can just be the same thing I do alone, but in front of people.
Yeah.
The dynamic's a little bit different, and you still, you cater to the crowd that you have, and I want everyone to have a good time when they come out and see me perform. But I'm not like I'm not trying to do things specifically for I don't want to say I'm not doing things for the crowd, but I'm not doing things that I wouldn't do if I was left to my own devices. I get to
Mhm.
be authentic to myself, but then just put that same thing on stage. So that's, to me, was a thing, was just like developing my own style, developing my own sound, figuring out what I want to say, and then just moving that just onto stage, and then letting the people decide whether they like that or not for themselves.
Yeah, that was a great answer. Like, I've worked with a lot of, so to talk a little bit about myself really quickly, I like to write too. And it's something that I'm trying to get back into. Like, I really enjoy just writing in general. And when I say write, I mean pen and paper, like that's my jam, right? And I have things right now that I've been, once again, trying to get back into it, writing, that I'm like, oh my God, like I want to know if this is good, but I still, that's a very vulnerable place for me. So I'm like, okay, how do I get past that, right? But I like the way you said it's like you're in control of your own stuff, basically. Like, and yeah, because like you said, of course you want the crowd to have a good time, but like yeah, you're in control basically of the whole situation. And I've worked with a lot of artists and musicians, and I always say it's so funny. Like, most of the people that I've worked with are either extremely shy or have a lot of shit with them. You know what I mean? Or they really don't like. And when I say that, I mean like they just have a lot of life with them. Maybe they just don't like to be around people. Whatever. And then all of a sudden they get in the booth or they get on the stage, and the things that are coming out of their mouth or the way that they're performing is like, what? Like how? So that's interesting. Definitely interesting. Well, let me ask you another question. I meant to ask you when you were kind of introducing yourself. Do you do you make your own beats and like mix and master your own stuff, or what's that process like for you?
Yeah, so I do some beat making, but I wouldn't say the majority of my work is not self-produced. I actually recorded a song today that I self-produced, but like the last album was all produced by a producer named Yakuzi, who's from Germany, who I met online. The next album that I have coming out is produced by a producer named AK, who's from my province, who I've known for many years. I do make some beats myself, but it's hard to find the time when you're not like just a full-time artist to do that. That's something I'm hoping to start doing a little bit more again. I do all my own recording, mixing, mastering right at home in my home studio, so I can kind of have have control over it, and B, also like when you're an independent artist, you have to budget, and so teaching myself how to do it myself saved me a lot of money that I otherwise wouldn't have. Maybe instead of putting out an album every year, I would have had to put out an album every 2 years or 3 years if I didn't learn how to do this myself. So
YouTube University.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, YouTube and Reddit and a lot of trial and error was really the biggest thing.
Yeah. That's it. So let's talk about that and kind of, nice segue. So trial and error, right? Like when we're sending ourselves mixed messages, or we are creators, or we're trying to learn, or if you get a new job or you get a new hobby or whatever, right? It's like we have to not be so hard on ourselves. Tell me if you agree. And just understand that everything is trial and error. And that's how you learn. And it's better to do it and then potentially, what people like to say, fail, than not doing anything at all. Because at the end of the day, if you tried, you know what I mean, then it's not a failure. You learn something and that's it. Now, at that point, you then have to decide whether you're going to try again or are you just going to give up. And that's where it, to me, I feel that's where it gets tough. So when the going gets going, how do you, and I'm trying to think, I'm sorry, y'all. Honestly, my Google Home thing in the back is going off all of a sudden. I think somebody's me, the one device I decided to do not disturb, threw me off. But yeah, so like trial and error, how do you like, and I'm really trying to kind of get inside of your head. Like when you feel like you failed or your song sucked, or like you just feel like that was an error in that trial, like how do you get up and motivated and, not have writer's block or creator block or whatever you want to call it? Like, what do you do?
Definitely. I mean, writer's block definitely still happens for me all the time. I kind of just today broke out of what had been, a writer's block for a few weeks. But I think I keep using that word unlocked. moving my production like in-house to myself unlocked a lot of that for me because um, when I used to go to other studios, I'd go to like good studios with good engineers and like great people, but it was still in my own mind. There was like, oh, I don't want to mess up, or like, oh, I don't want to, come across poorly, or
Mhm.
I was kind of policing my own behavior a lot just because I was worried about the people, even though they would have no reason to be judgmental for whatever reason judging me.
Mhm.
Because I kind of created space for myself away from everyone else to create. If I try something and it doesn't work, I'm the only person who ever has to know that. Like if I write something and I'm like, this is actually kind of bad, like, I just throw it away. If I record something and it doesn't work, like nobody else ever has to hear it. Maybe my girlfriend will hear it from the other room, but she's
Right.
not gonna be upset about it. Um, and I think that opens up so many ways for you to get better and for you to learn new things because you're not worried about trying something that might fail. Everything you try is like either it works or it doesn't work, and you know that it doesn't work, so you can try something else the next time. And
Yeah.
even stuff that doesn't work, like it's still reps. It's still like it's still lifting the bar and putting it back down. You're still developing the
Yeah.
muscles, even if the
Mhm.
final piece of work ends up not being something that you feel comfortable releasing. The
Mhm.
effort that you put into it, you're still developing all the little skills that are going to make the thing where you do have the right idea that much better. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, experimentation is great, and I don't really, yeah, beat myself up too bad about stuff that doesn't work because um, nobody else has to hear it. Whereas before, when I was recording in other studios or working with other people all the time, I did kind of have that voice in the back of my head saying, like, oh, just like stick to the script, don't get too crazy, don't don't do anything that maybe might not work because you might look stupid or whatever.
Right.
Which is just like it's just like a little hater that lives in your head. It's like that everyone kind of has.
Yes.
It's just like, and it's
You
just
just blew
like,
my mind. I'm not trying to, I have to cut you off on that. That's
no, you go
so
for it.
crazy because when I just told you I have stuff that I've written and da da da, and I'm scared to share it. It is what it is, people. I'm a person too.
Mhm.
Um, that's exactly what I wrote about. One of the first thing that I said, let me get out of my head and write something. I just need to write something. It's been so long, and I titled it "Little Marianne." And Little Marianne is that little hater that lives in my head and our heads. So
Mhm.
that was great.
Yeah,
Take
I
all that
think
in, people.
probably, yeah, most people have that. Like just like you gotta tune him out sometimes, but
Yeah,
um
yeah. You have to evict them. They gotta go.
yep, yeah, there you
They
go.
they gotta go. So we talked a lot about your kind of creative process with your music. Um, so tell me, as a guy, and I know that you actually did an interview with a fellow YouTuber that we both know, and he talks about men's mental health, right? Which
Mhm.
I thought was very interesting. And, when I do interviews, a lot of the interviews that I do are with guys. And, at the end, because I don't want to freak them out, at the end, I'll, bring up the mental health thing and have them share a message. Because I feel like, with men, it's one of those things where it's like, suck it up, be a man, don't cry. We don't talk about feelings and all that shit. But at the end of the day, I mean, y'all are people too. Sorry, ladies, but it's true. These guys actually have feelings and they're like, people. So what do you think is one of the most important things that you've learned about mental health for yourself, and how and what do you do about that? Like, what can you share with us, like some tips, so that people can have a couple dumbbells when they leave to start doing some reps?
Definitely.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I guess that would kind of also go back to what I was talking about before about like the looking inwards for figuring out what you want to write. That's kind of the same process with regards to mental health in some ways too. Like uh if you don't have the tools, like people who've been in therapy or like have had certain kinds of upbringings will have a lot of tools to express emotions. If you don't have all those tools, you might not even know what's bothering you. Like, you feel a certain way, or like oh, I'm irritable all the time, or like, oh, like I'm blowing up, or like, oh, I'm crying when I try to sleep, or like any of the things that could be happening that like your internal conflict is like blowing up into your body, but you
Right.
don't know what the actual root is. Like you have to figure out what the problem is, and creativity is a way for you to interrogate yourself, basically. You have to find out what that problem is, and for me, that's come through writing songs and writing poems. I can sit down and like I can say, like, I've been feeling like I've had like this kind of vague feeling lately, or like there's something going on with me that I'm not caught 100% conscious of right now. I need to sit down and interrogate that and figure out where it's coming from. I think that's like a number one thing for especially men, because we don't, for the most part, have as many open conversations as I think women often do, where those kinds of issues will kind of be interrogated. If you can do that for yourself, figure out why, like what your problem is, what, like, not just what your problem is, that sounds kind of dismissive, but like what,
Right.
like what it is that's bothering you, or what it is that's causing these kinds of reactions. Then that's like a way to do it. And you can't really fix anything if you don't know what the problem is. Like you have to, the doctor has to diagnose you before they can treat you, and you have to diagnose yourself before you can treat yourself. So that's kind of the first step, is the soul searching, the looking inward, and not, aside from just like, I have these vague feelings, like get to the root of them, put a name on them, like identify their causes, identify what you want to do about them. Like do I feel this way because I'm lonely? Am I actually lonely? Like, do I feel this way because I haven't drank water in 3 days? Like any of those things can be
Yeah.
the problem. But your body's going to give you certain signals, but you have to look through and like see what it actually is. And that's so, like, I keep coming back to it, but I think everyone should have some kind of creative outlet or creative pursuit, because that's the number one way to get better in touch with yourself, and to get better in touch with the human experience, which by extension puts you in better touch with everyone else in your circle and everyone else in the world. Because the better you understand yourself, the better you understand everyone else.
Yeah. And that once again, that was great. I mean, seriously, you have to, and you kind of said you're dismissive with what's the problem, but I mean, like, I want to talk about mental health, and I want to keep it light, but it's serious. When you say mental health, it's like, oh my God, like that's a huge freaking umbrella. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, honestly, yeah, we need to figure out what our own problem is. You know what I mean? Like you said, you're in the hardest thing to do is, the hardest truth is coming from yourself. When the truth comes from yourself to yourself, it's like, oh shit. Like, I mean, you can't deny it. It is what it is. And that's hard. So it's almost like, what I took out of what you said is that you have to come up with a self-action plan. Like, okay, this is the issue. Am I really feeling like this? Why? Okay. Do I want to change this? Why? Okay. How am I going to do it? Put in work, right? So yeah, I think like you said, you keep coming back to it, but yeah, I mean, everybody having a creative outlet, I think is, yeah, it is important. Whatever gets you going. Like in my self-diagnosing, right? Working on my my podcast, what I like to do. I'll watch YouTube videos they kind of started like this. I would watch YouTube videos just to try to see like different styles of podcasts. And really, I'm kind of going for the talk show type thing, honestly, is what we're growing towards. So them fans, hang in there. It was beautiful. But, just kind of looking at people's styles and interview styles and whatever. But then I'm realizing that I'm watching the type of stuff also that I want to talk about, which is mental health and self-awareness and self-care and whatever. So now I'm learning and doing what I do naturally as a creator, So now all of a sudden I find myself diagnosing, and that's not even what I was doing. You know what I mean? But it just came out through my creative outlets. And then I'm like, oh, let me start watching this stuff more for me, and let me start doing this, And it's hard to take action. And I don't know exactly what people say. I can't remember what the breakdown is. It's like, it takes this amount of time to create a habit and this amount of time to break the habit type of thing. So, I mean, it's like we have to apply that to ourselves. Like, I know at one point in life, and I had a moment yesterday, I was so disappointed in myself that I didn't beat myself up. I thought about it. I ran through the action plan in my head, so totally different outcome than it would have been. But I know, speaking for myself personally, at one point, I'm out in the world everything is pissing me off. Everything. Like, you don't want me in your drive-through. You don't want me in your teller wait. And I know that I'm a nice, caring person. What the hell is wrong with me? What is going on, right? So after a couple of years of that, honestly, I'm like, wait a freaking minute. Broke it down, told myself some hard truths. Do I want to be like this? No. So I have to take action. Now, trial and error, habits, whatever, shit happens. Yesterday, I snapped in public on somebody. I was like, I am a horrible person. It wasn't that bad, but it was bad to me. I felt defeated. I'm like, no, they took me there. It's been so long. And, but it happens. So you just got to hop back up on the horse and keep it moving. Keep it moving. But yeah, that's good stuff. So what would you say to, and I don't think I have this set up for kids to watch, so let me not, freak anybody out, but what would you say if you had the opportunity to talk to a kindergarten class? What would your life advice be to them?
My life advice to kindergarten kids.
Weird, right?
Yeah, I guess to break it down to like that elementary of a level is, find the things that you like doing and do them as much as you possibly can. That's the number one thing. If you love painting, man, paint as often as you possibly can. My nephew, he's not in kindergarten, but he's 7 now, I believe, and he just loves building stuff in Minecraft. He's about it. He's watching the tutorials. He's learning how to code different machines in Minecraft that do all kind of stuff. I'm like, dude, do that as often as your parents will let you. Spend as much time doing that, at least right now, as you can, because it's making you happy and you're producing something that didn't exist before. And you're also learning things about this passion that you have, but also about yourself just through the action of pursuing it. So I would say that to anyone, whether you're 5 years old or whether you're 50 years old, if there's something you love doing, spend as much time as you feasibly can doing that. But then also the other thing would be also try some stuff that you don't know that you already love. Do the thing you love, and then 80% of the time, and then spend maybe that last 20% of the time trying stuff that you don't know whether or not you love yet. And if you hate it, that's fine. You can throw it away. You don't have to keep wasting time on it, but you're going to find some more stuff that you love too. So that's pretty simplified, but I think that's probably good advice for anyone.
Well, the reason that I was thinking as I was asking, but the reason I kind of went kindergarten class on you is because I feel like as adults, we make everything so difficult, right? And when you really, and I always tell people, if you really just break it down kindergarten style, be nice, treat people how you want to be treated, do something fun, go outside. You know what I mean? It applies to anyone, like you said. So,
yep.
But I thought what you said was interesting and great, because when I think personally, and I'm sure some people can relate, I'm like, did I ever have a person in my life as a young child say to me, do what you love, make sure that you do what you love. Like you said, if it's Minecraft, play Minecraft until your thumbs fall off. You know what I mean? Whatever. But I think that's very important. And then, as you become older, once again, you forget about that type of stuff, and you have to pause and remember, you know what? I love looking at the stars. Let me go outside in this lawn chair and just post up and take it in. We all have so much going on and so distressed with things that we all have to do, pay our bills,
Mhm.
kids, whatever, that we forget about the little things. And we have to just stop and smell the roses and make sure that even if you can't do what you love 80% of your time, if it's 70% that's available, do it. You know what I mean? So that was really good. So what I want you to do, so is there anything else? You have any other burning desires that you would like to share that you feel like the people need to know? And also, where can we hear your music and all of that? Because we're totally going to listen to that.
Yeah, my music's on, any major streaming service, Spotify, Apple Music, anything like that. You just search Skizza, Skizza, like it's on the screen there. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm Skizza306 on most platforms, Instagram, Twitter. I'm not very active on Twitter, but Instagram, even Facebook and stuff like that. You can find me on there. Send me a message. I'm pretty friendly, I think. And yeah, I think like I keep coming back to the same thing, but make some stuff, do something cool. Even if you haven't done anything in 15 years, if you used to love playing the guitar, like go pick your guitar out of the attic tomorrow and play it for a little while if you have some time, or write a poem or paint a picture. Like I think there's I guess to get back into what you were saying there too about like as we get older we stop doing these things because we've professionalized everything, like it's money, it's like, oh, like I gotta pay this bill, I gotta do this, and like, oh, like if it's not work then it's probably not worth doing. And it's like I get like free time is very limited, but if you have some of it, like don't feel like it's a waste to spend it doing something like that, to spend it playing your guitar or painting a picture, anything, or like making videos or podcasts, even if they're not what you earn your living from. Just like create some stuff. That's what humanity is very creative in our nature. Like we painted walls on caves before we could before we could do before we had anything resembling like a modern capitalist market. We were making art and we were telling stories and we were writing songs and we were dancing. And that's like at the root, what's most elemental and essential to being a human, in my opinion, is those kinds of creative pursuits. And if you're completely abandoning those for just being able to like work all the time, like work from the time you wake up until the time you go to sleep for the rest of your life. Like I know that people have to do that, and I'm not judging anyone for that, but it's sad. And if you're able to carve out some time to do something creative, like it's definitely going to be worth it for you.
Yeah, agreed. And like you said, it is sad. It is like even to the people who have to work 2 jobs and work, or whatever, that literally have to work to survive. Like there's still that piece of time that you can carve out. If you enjoy napping, don't feel like you didn't accomplish anything because you took a nap. Like that's what you enjoy, that's what you needed. Like it's okay. And yeah, I know, speaking for myself, and I'm sure people can relate, sometimes when you do things that you enjoy, it almost feels like you didn't accomplish anything, or maybe it was a waste of time or whatever. But no, that's not the case at all. Like you have to do stuff for yourself that makes you happy, whatever that may be. And you have to express yourself in one way, shape, or form too. Is kind of what's coming to me. You keep saying people need a creative outlet, and it's like the dot is even farther, more dots started connecting. But yeah, you have to express yourself. If you're the type of person who is a loner and likes to be home watching Netflix, chilling, doesn't really like to do anything, a single person, whatever, you need people. I've had my moments in life where I've been like, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, everybody needs somebody, right? Everybody needs another ear to hear what they're saying, and vice versa. And that's how you learn and about yourself, about people, you grow, and everything just starts to make sense.
Make it make sense. There we go.
Hey, that's what we're here to that's what we're here to do for sure. But yeah, we're definitely going to check out your music. And the crazy thing is, I was going to just do all the first time stuff with you tonight. I was going to say, well, put out like we need a Skizza call to action, but I think he pretty much just said it. So last week, my call to action was when you start sending yourself mixed messages, stop, pause, hold on, kick a little Marianne, kick a little hater out your head, right? So I would love to know in the comments how that works for you guys this past week. And this week, we're going to add another layer. We are going to make sure that at least one day, 20 minutes, you take for yourself this week doing something that you enjoy. Paint, sing, throw your headphones on, dance around the house like a crazy. Nobody can see you. And anybody who lives in the house with you already knows you're crazy, so it's fine. So just take some time to enjoy yourself and do something you love this week. How you feel about that? Think that's a good call to action?
Absolutely, I feel great about that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I am not going to hold you up. I know that you are a busy guy, and I would love to have you back on the show, actually, as we, continue to grow. I don't know how you feel about this, but maybe like a few of us all kind of just talking about different things, good 3-4 of us hanging out, chatting. So I'll get back with you. We're definitely going to keep in touch. But yes, thank you everybody for tuning in once again. You can check us out every Wednesday at 9 p.m. at Mims Meow on YouTube. All your major platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, all that stuff. Check out Skizza. Love the consistency. He's easy to find. And we'll check you out next week on Mixed Messages. And we are out. Peace from you.
See ya.